All right, everyone, it's time for some grill and Torah. So here's my son, Nathan. Say hello.
Hello.
Before I get started, I'm going to have to show Nathan how to invite everyone to the webpage, to the Ari Fold Israel Defense webpage, because I want to invite everyone on my regular page to get involved. So let's get this on here 1 second, and let's see if we can get this moving. Yeah? Hold on 1 second. We're going to get this moving on my page, and we're going to wait some people to sign in here. Let's see what's going on. Hold on. Nathan, you want to see something? I don't know. You want to say something to people? Hello. Oh, you want to say something to people on there? You know? All right. 1 second. Tell me if anyone comes on, all right? And I don't see anyone coming on yet, so hold on. Just
annoying. Daddy.
I heard it. 1 second.
There's one on.
Who's here? All right, so hold on 1 second. We're going to get started in 1 second. Live. All right, who's on? Gracie's in the house. All right, Gracie, we have to invite everyone here on my personal page. Say hello to Nathan.
Hi.
Let's see if we can do this right now. Moshe Goshen is in the house. What's going on, Moshe Goshen? All right, we're going to go on my regular page and see if I can invite people coming in. It's a little bit different because I'm starting. Whoa, what happened? All right, hold on 1 second. What's going on, everyone? So give me 1 second. We're trying to invite people in. All right, 5 people are now on. And here we're going to get moving right now. I'll show you, so I got some good meat coming on. So be patient. All right, here we go. Ready, Nathan? I'm going to show you how to do this now, and then I'm going to give them the Dvar Torah. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay. Hey, what's going on, Deborah? John Rocha is on. Thanks for being here, John. All right. We're going to get moving right now. Okay, Nathan, I don't need you. Sorry. Actually did, but I can't do it from there. All right, let's make it outside here to the grill, and let's get started. We got a lot to talk about this week. Packed Parsha. And I got also a message that I want to tell everyone. But since people are getting used to coming on my new page, I want to give some time for people to invite friends and family on, because we haven't been here in a while, and people don't know that I'm here. So do me a favor, everyone, share away, and let's get this on the new page so that we can get moving. All right, let's see if we can get this on straight here. There we go. We are in business. All right. So hope everyone is at David Fast in the house. John, what's going on? This week's parsha is an amazing, amazing parsha. Let me get the steak on first. You got to check out what I'm making here. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. You don't want to go anywhere. Oh, mama. All right. Give me a sec. I'm going to show this to you. Let me just put it on. All right. We are cooking up a storm here, and I'm going to show you the meat in 1 second. Parshat Eikev. Okay, we're coming right after Veit Chanan. Remember, last week we read about Moshe Rabbeinu begging a God to make it into the land of Israel. Moshe was being punished for hitting the rock. Well, I'm not going into this week, but it wasn't exactly for hitting the rock, but it was getting angry. And instead of causing God's name to be honored, and that Bnei Israel should see that there was a massive miracle going on, so he hit the rock and therefore desecrated that name and was not allowed, as a result, to come into the land of Israel. Crazy, crazy punishment for a leader who was doing everything for the nation of Israel for years and was punished what seems to be like a little mess up. But this week we're going to go into something else, because if last week was a warning to Moshe Rabbeinu, was a warning to Moses, this week is a warning to all of Israel. And we have the parsha called Eikev. The word Eikev means in result to. In other words, It's being very clear that our being in the land of Israel is on condition. We are not guaranteed anything in this land. It is on condition. Actually, that's not even true. We are guaranteed if we keep to the terms and conditions that God sets out for us. So, Eikev Tishmeun, the words this week's parsha starts out with is if you listen, or the result of your listening, Eikev Tishmeun, the result of you listening to God's name, to God's word, will be your success in the land of Israel. But we're going to go on a little bit because there are questions that I asked up top, which are serious questions, and which people in Israel really struggle with. Our success, right? How much is our success our own effort? How much are we even allowed to put effort into it? Think about this for a second. Someone gets sick, God forbid, right? Are they allowed to go to a doctor? I mean, if you believe that God is in charge of everything, right? You shouldn't be able to go to the doctor. You have to suffer the consequences of whatever you did. The reason you're getting sick, obviously, we did something wrong or is to fix something, I don't know what. But you shouldn't be allowed to go to the doctor, because if you're going to the doctor, you're like saying, well, God, I got this sickness, but I'm going to try to get rid of it on my own. So right off the bat, I will tell you, first of all, that no, that is not Judaism at all. The psukim that say, Rapo Yirapeh, in the Torah, it says you can make yourself better, gives the permission to go to the doctors and get yourself treated. In fact, you're not allowed to say, I'm not going to the doctor, okay? But when it comes to the nation, how much are we balanced with effort, personal effort, and belief in God? In other words, if you put too much effort in, you might think, what? It's my fault. So I'm going to read you a couple of the psukim this week. Before I begin, I want to say two very very important things. And of course, I love that everyone signs in and likes and shares. I don't see any shares coming up yet, so let's go, people. I'm waiting for you to share this. In any case, I want to start off by I didn't do this on Facebook because I didn't think it was appropriate, but I do want to do it now. A friend of mine and one of the leaders in our neighborhood, Eitan Ashman, really last week, out of nowhere, fell sick. He had a stroke. He's 42 years old, 41 years old, the young guy, tip-top shape, and unfortunately had blood clots to the brain. I'm not going to get into the details. He's now in the hospital, and we thank God there has been some advancement in his situation, so we are hoping that he's going to get better. So this Dvar Torah, this short Torah portion is going to be in the merit of, and hopefully will cause a speedy recovery to Eitan Ashman. Reuven Eitan ben Chava Braina is his name. Those of you who want to say some Tehillim for him, be very much appreciated. Again, Reuven Eitan ben Chava Braina. He could use, and all the prayers that one can say. Okay, let's get moving. So, like I said, this week's parsha is Eikev, right? And it's talking about the conditions about how to succeed in the land of Israel. But not like last week. And I'm going to show it to you 1 second. I just wanted to flip this over for 1 second. Here we go. Let's open up, people. I'm looking inside, by the way, for those of you have a chumash at home. I'm going to be reading in Hebrew and then explaining it in English, but you will be able to follow. So, like I said, this week's parsha starts off Eikev. If you listen to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, then you will succeed in the land of Israel. And if you don't, you decide to go on your own, then things will not go so well. So, first of all, the question that I asked, IDF or God? Personal effort versus belief in God. If I put my personal belief in, well, doesn't that mean that I don't believe that God will be able to do it on his own? Where's the balance? So, the pasuk right here says the following, that throughout our trip in the desert and in Mitzrayim, right? So there were a couple of tests that we had to go through. We had food problems and water problems, and we prayed, and God gave us the whatever we needed. So the question is, then shouldn't we just pray? So it says, that God made you hungry, right? And God gave you that manna that we know, right? That special food that came from the heavens. That you didn't know anything about in the past. That your forefathers didn't know anything about this man, this special food that God was giving us. Why did he give it to us? In order to let us know that man will not live alone on bread, but rather what comes out from the word of mouth, that is what you will live on. And the question is that true? In other words, I don't get man today. We don't get man today. We don't, pray to the heavens and they have this man coming down. No, we have to work. Right? You have to work the field, and that way you got to go to make some money, and you be able to buy food. So what is it saying here that when it says that man will not survive on bread alone, but only on what comes out of God's mouth? I mean, frankly, that's not true. In other words, we see that many people who are not religious and they're millionaires and they're living quite well. So how do we deal with that sentence? So the answer, or at least one of the things that I thought about, is there's life and there's life. Okay? If life is just living and enjoying life, so that's not human life, that's animal life. In other words, the animals, think about it. I say to people all the time, if there is no God, okay, and we really don't have any moral responsibility at all. I mean, it's all made up. So who lives a better life, a dog or a human being? Think about it for a second. The dog eats whatever it wants, wherever it wants, takes whatever it wants, relations with whatever it wants, sleeps whatever it wants, and gets up just to do what it's needed. There's no status, in terms of he's cooler, bigger car, bigger house. Again, there's no moral consequence. A dog bites another dog because it wants the other dog's bone. No problem. Dog bites another dog in order to get the dog's food. No problem, right? We humans, we speed through a red light and we get punished for it. So in a godless world, right, a world where there's no moral consequence, not a social moral consequence, a real no moral consequence, a dog's life is much, much easier because it has no consequence, right? So when it's saying here, Lo alechem adam, not on bread alone will man live. Not animals, not beings, man. Because man, according to the Torah at least, has a much higher reason, or a much more celestial, heavenly reason to live. There's something that we have as humans that animals do not have. We have a neshama, we have a soul. Right? And that is the only difference between us. Just, dogs have 4 legs and we have 2. So what? That's the difference? That's the difference? We talk. It's not true. Dolphins talk. Right? What is the difference? Think about what is the difference between man and an animal? A man and a cow, okay? Think about it for a second. What's the real difference between a man and a cow? So if you're just talking about it in terms of intelligence, we're just more intelligent than a cow. Well, what about a human being who, God forbid, is brain dead? Okay, could we kill them just now? Could we eat their meat now because they're brain dead because they're less intelligent than us? I hope not. Right? So then apparently the difference is not only intelligence. The difference is not only because we walk on 2, they walk on 4. There's a much bigger difference here. Darla, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Right? There's a much bigger difference here. So when the Torah says, that not only bread alone will man live, we're not talking about only physical life, obviously, because man can live on bread alone physically, right? It's not a problem. Man only had bread and water, no problem. We can live forever, right? For as long as we can live. So what does it mean? It means no. If you want life as quality, what life is supposed to be as a human being, is higher than the animal kingdom, it's not about bread. And it's further than that. Yes, we could work and we can make a lot of money, okay? But at the end of the day, that's not what you're living for. Okay, and I tell people all the time who are doing very well in business, I don't tell people straight, but think about this, right? Someone who's a billionaire, right? Real estate or banking or Apple, right? Think about Steve Jobs. Think about, Microsoft. Whatever it is, whatever the people's making a lot of money from. It's interesting that Steve Jobs did not want on his grave creator of Apple. Why? That's who he was. Well, that's not who he was. Lo alechem levadoy adam. Man's survival is not on the bread. It's not on the money that they made. It's who they were. So Steve Jobs was a tremendous philanthropist, right? He had his own belief systems. That to him was who he was. The fact that we looked at him and says, oh, he's a creator of Apple, he's making millions and trillions of dollars, that's not who he was. That's not who he was at all. So Adam said at the end of the day, we have to do effort. We have to go to work. We have to do effort to make money and do whatever we can in life. But at the end of the day, we have to say thank you to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have to say thank you to God. Okay, so let's move on just a little bit. How does this have to do with Israel, with the nation of Israel, with the land, with the world? Okay, so God's about to bring us into the land of Israel, and there's so many psukim here, so many passages which are warnings to the nation of Israel. So it says, I bring you to this place out of the desert, out of the hard rock and the wilderness, the desert, and I bring you to a place which your forefathers did not know. They did not settle. You didn't build any houses, right? And it says, you get to this place, and you beat the enemies of Israel. right? Even though they outnumber you, right? Things don't change. They outnumber you by a lot. They're stronger than you. They outnumber you, everything else. And it says, and you will say in your heart, right? The reason that we won this war is because of my strength and courage, right? If you dare say that, it's a warning from the Torah. You come and you do. You beat the enemies. You went to the army, right? And you beat the enemies. If you fall and say after you beat the enemies that my strength and my courage were the ones that allowed us to be victorious over the enemy, that is a big no. Because what does the Torah say here? V'zacharta, remember. V'zacharta, remember. Et Adonai Elohecha, remember Kadosh Baruch Hu, God. Ki hu hanoten lecha koach lasot chayil. God will give you the strength to do those amazing things. Leman hakim et brito, in order to uphold his covenant, asher nishba la'avotecha kayom hazeh. The day that he wrote. Is there a problem with the video? Let me know. Give me some thumbs up if you can hear me and see me, because Linda just said there's a problem with the video. So give me some thumbs up here so I know that everybody can see this. But it says, God says that God gave you the power to do this, okay, in order that he should, thank you for the thumbs up. Linda, it's by you. In order that he can uphold his covenant that he promised to your forefathers. Now the question is, if you promised something to my forefathers, why do I have to work at all? Why do I have to put any effort into it? Just, snap your fingers. We'll be in the land of Israel. No wars needed. The nations of the world will accept this, and lovely. Why do I have to put effort? So apparently, according to these passages, that idea that we can do everything, you don't need effort, just pray to God, is wrong. It's wrong by the Torah. It's wrong by what's written right here. God gives you the power to do that. In other words, the energy and power to do that, and then it's up to us to take lead and go. To go. Right? God brought us to the Red Sea, right? Back when we got out of Mitzrayim. And Bnei says, what do we do? And God says, go. So we know Othniel ben Kenaz went into the sea, and the sea then split. Take action. God gave you energy and power and courage and all your traits. Everybody has their personal traits, by the way. And those traits were not given to you by accident. Those traits were given to you so that you can make a difference in this world based on those traits. That's who you are. Not everybody has the same job in this world. Not everyone has the same goal in this world. Okay? If you play a musical instrument, you have to use your talents in order to make the world a better place. We know that King David HaMelech, he had his harp and his violin. We know that. We know it's spiritual. Okay? If you are funny, you gotta have to make people happy, but you gotta do it in an appropriate manner, correct? Right? If you are outspoken and you're courageous and you're willing to fight for justice, then that's what you gotta do. You can't ignore what your role is in this world. Sorry, Shabbat Shalom. Alright, so God says that I've given you the power to do in order that I should uphold my covenant. So God says, I'm not upholding my covenant just by, saying, okay, I'll, go into Israel. No, it's up to you. I've given you the power to fulfill the covenant that I promised your forefathers, but it's up to you, right? And then it says like this. You're going to go in. It says, Ma v'ataisa, now Israel. Ma Adonai Elohecha sha'al mi'imach. What is God asking from you, Israel? What does God want, Sachakol? What does he want? Ki'im li'rat Adonai Elohecha lelechet b'chod drachav, to have awe on a Kadosh Baruch Hu in God, and to go in his ways, ula'ava oto, and to love him, v'la'avod et Adonai Elohecha, to worship God, b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha. All your heart and all your soul. So with all due respect, it says, what does God want from you? He just wants you to, have awe and follow his follow his rules, as if it's not difficult to do. What does anyone say? What is God, it's like a father saying, what am I asking of you? Just, take out the garbage. Well, God's saying, what am I asking? Just, have awe in God, follow his commandments, and do what he told you to do, right? But the question is it really so easy? All the commandments in the Torah are so easy? So what does that mean? What am I asking for you? So it goes on, lishmo, to keep the mitzvot, keep all the mitzvot, right? Mitzvot Adonai v'chukotav, all his laws and all his mitzvot, asher anochi mitzavcha hayom, that God commands you today. And I will in a second explain what that word today is, because today, while I'm standing right here, it's not today. It was 3,000 years ago, right? But the last two words of the pasuk, the last two words of the passage are the most important. Letov lach, for your own benefit. Now, where have we seen those two words, letov lach, before in the Torah? Let's see if anyone here is really easy. It's in Bereshit. All right? God says to someone, I'm ordering you to do something, l'tov lach, for your own benefit. Who was it? Who can guess here? I'm waiting for someone to sign in. So the answer is, it was Avram Avinu, Abraham. Lech lecha ma'artzecha, go from your house and your family, go to Arda Sha'eka, go to the land that God will tell you to go to, and it's for your benefit, l'tovatcha, l'anatcha, for your benefit, right? Well, what's the test then? If it's for my benefit, what's the test? Well, that's exactly the point. He says, what is God asking you? What is God asking you of you? Just follow his ways and do what's supposed to be done. But at the end of the day, it's not just follow your ways, you get lightning. Beautiful. Linda, perfect. Abraham. It's not that you get struck by lightning. That's a childish way of thinking of things. No. It's morality. It's what we're doing in this world. It's the difference between us and animals. Litov lach. And it's for our benefit that we follow Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's not, we're not getting brownie points somewhere. Right? When mommy and daddy say to you, behave yourself. Behave like a nice person. Right? I remember my grandfather used to have a sticker that said it's more important to be nice. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Right? So he's saying, what am I asking you to do? What says God saying? What am I asking Sachakol to do? I'm asking you to keep my laws for your own benefit. Last week we learned the fact that when Bnei Israel keep the laws, that's when the nations of the world actually respect us. Okay? And then it says the following. Then last week, I don't know if you remember, last week we read the first two Parshiot, the first two Parshiot of Kriyat Shema, the famous Shema prayer, right? And the first paragraph is V'havta, love Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Romanticism, right? Oh, I love you. Oh, just that emotional love, right? That's very important. But now the second parsha, the second paragraph in Shema, in this week's parsha, Vayayim Shamoah. Now comes the work, right? Now comes the work. Vayayim Shamoah is lest you listen to the orders that a Kadosh Baruch Hu gives you. Now comes all the mitzvot, all the commandments. Loving emotionally is nice, by the way. But if you don't put your love into action, in terms of showing appreciation, in terms of doing what you got to do, it doesn't mean much, right? So now the parsha, after we went last week into the Hafta, love God, now the parsha says, okay, love is nice, emotions are nice, but you got to put into action. And how do you put into action? Not in what I decide is okay and not okay. Now the mitzvot, now the commandments come into play. In other words, I've seen a lot of people who really show, I love God, and now what? Right? So like someone tells their wife, tells their spouse, I love them, but they don't listen to them, they don't do anything for them, they don't show any appreciation to them. It's meaningless. So this week's parsha says, this week's portion, it talks about Vayayim Shamoah Tishmo, right? Vaya, if you listen to the commandments, Asher Nochesh, that God commands you today. And again, that word today keeps on going over again. So my father, who's probably on here, I think, Abba, you're on here. My father once, if I'm not mistaken, even gave me that blessing at my wedding, if I'm not mistaken. What is that word Hayom? Today. What does that mean? Har Sinai, Mount Sinai wasn't today. It was 3,000 years or 3,500 years ago. So what relevance does it have for me to say today? The relevance is the following. Every day we have to get up like it's a fresh day. Every day, like that was the day that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that God gave the Torah at Sinai. That fresh feeling, right? People get married, right? And they're like, oh, I love you more than anything else. The wedding night was wonderful. And then we know the percents, in America at least, of divorces. It's ridiculous. What happened? Well, what happened was they forgot that Hayom, that loving feeling that you had by the wedding day, that total sacrifice for the person that you're about to marry, kind of went down the drain after a couple of years, right? People are falling in love. Well, when you fall in love, that's an oops. So when you fall in love, you also fall out of love, right? Love is a working it's a working process. A lot of work to be done with that, and that's what this week's parsha is talking about when it says the parsha of Vehaya. Now you have to keep the commandments. All right, I just want to go on to one thing also here, which is really, really important. The last parsha, the last part of this sentence here, it says the following. It says, Kim shamot tishmerun, if you keep kol mitzvah, all the commandments, asher anochi metzaveh etchem lasotah, all the commands that God is creating, God is commanding for us to do, la'ava, to love, et Adonai Elohechem, to love God, lalechet bechol drachav, to go in His ways, uledav kabo, and to stick to God. Well, I understand to love. I understand to go in his ways. You got to keep the mitzvot. You got to keep the commandments. What does the davkapa mean? What does it mean to stick to God? How can you stick to something that's invisible? So Rashi here on the spot explains that you want to stick to God, you have to emulate God. Okay, and I'm going to read it inside because it's actually a beautiful, beautiful Rashi here. It says, "If Shalom Aken, can we possibly say you can stick to God? Eshochlahu, God is like an all-encompassing fire. You can't stick to fire. Ela hadbeka talmidim uv'chachamim. Stick to those who are wise and the rabbis and the people who are smart who understand the laws. Umalani chakilu nidbakta bo. And then when you stick to those people who are keeping the laws, then it's if you nidbakta bo. Then you were stuck to him. But there's another explanation. Beautiful explanation, by the way. It says you want to stick to God, stick to His ways. Hu rachum v'chanun achfatati rachum. He's compassionate and kind. You have to be compassionate and kind too. Hu noten tzedakah. He gives charity. You have to give charity. Right? All the things, the traits of God that we talk about are for emulation. That's what we have to emulate. Obviously, to say God is this and God is that is ridiculous. God isn't this and God isn't that, because God is all-encompassing. God is infinite. So to say He's this means He's not that, and we can't say that, right? So we're talking about His traits, and that was the point that we have to say. To keep His traits. Now, I just want to say a couple of things, all right? So first of all, this is the new page. I hope everyone's on here. I hope everyone got here. The traffic is not great because I guess people are getting used to coming over from my page. But first of all, please share the page and share the video. Again, I want to wish a speedy recovery to Reuven Eitan Ben Chava, Brian, a good friend of mine who's in the hospital. Hopefully we'll see him out walking and back soon. And there's one other thing I want to talk to everyone about. And this is a little bit, awkward for me. But it's important. Okay? I love the fact that everybody's sharing. I love the fact that you're liking. I love the fact, all that you're doing to be involved in the pages that I'm on. Listen to me. All the operations that I do for the soldiers cost money. Okay? And if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would never fundraise again. I would sponsor everything myself. Okay? But unfortunately, I'm not there yet. All right? There are a tremendous amount of campaigns that we have to do. Okay, the first campaign that right now ongoing throughout the summer is we're going out to the soldiers, giving them refreshments and saying thank you to them. Okay, it's giving them a reason to smile and cooling them off during the summer. Okay, number two, next year we're renting apartments for lone soldiers so they don't have to worry about anything. Okay, and that's quite a bulk of money there. Number three, we're flying parents of lone soldiers in to enjoy their kids' their kids' graduations. The parents who can't afford it, who are in the States. Okay? So, and again, a bunch of campaigns are going on. So I need everybody here to please hit the link that I will put up in 1 second. Okay? If anyone here knows the link and you put it up before I do, that'd be great. I need everyone here. Okay? I got great to have 5,000 friends on my Facebook. Can you imagine if every one of those friends gave $18? We would have so much covered. Okay? So again, I love the fact you share and I love the fact you like this. Not a popularity contest for me. I couldn't care less. Really. I love you guys. But my goal and my priorities are to the men and women of the IDF. And they're more important to me right now than anything else. So I'm asking everybody who's watching this now and watching in the future, please hit the link to the website. Okay, I'm going to put it up right now and you'll see the, sorry about that. You're going to see the link right here. First of all, let me turn around and show you what I got on the grill here. A little peek at what's going on while I, hold on 1 second. Here's what we got. All right, there is the link right there. All you got to do is hit that link. There's a donate button right there. If you want to read about our different things that are going on, check out the pages right there. Read about the different stuff that's going on. Amazing stuff. All right. Awesome, everyone. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And please do share out there. Thank you, Linda. There it is. There's the link right there. Awesome. Lisa, how are you? I'm about to get off. I want to thank everyone for watching again. And really thank you for being here all the time. And please do share the video and like the video and hit that link above. More important than anything else, people. Again, I have 5,000 friends. Right here on this page, I have 800 people. If everybody would give even only $18, you want to give more, wonderful. Can you imagine how many soldiers we can take care of? So let's get moving. Let's put that support. We just spoke. You love soldiers. We just spoke about it. I love soldiers, right? Time to put the love into action, people. All right, so I'm out of here. Wishing everyone an awesome, awesome weekend. Around 5 minutes, I'm going to put on the new Israeli Frenemies, my show that I took yesterday in Tel Aviv. It was a pretty cool show. So I'm wishing everyone a really, really wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom from the beautiful, stunning hills of Judea, Israel. All right, I'm out of here. By the way, I'm just reminding everyone I will be in the United States of America in November. Also maybe Canada, we'll see. So let's start setting up those events wherever you live and let's get it moving. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please don't forget to share the video. Have an awesome weekend and God bless.